I just figured out what's going to work for me to set me up for success. I know that if I wake up before my family wakes up and I get a little bit of coffee in me and I have a little bit of quiet time, even if it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, I'm going to be so much better for my family. Like, that's just the way it is. It's easy. A regular person that has a regular Joe job and still wants to be a good parent, excel in their career, be more whatever, like grow in any area of goodness. Like, I don't think anyone's trying to like emphasize their like negative aspects of their life. You're like, you know what sucked for me last year? I'm going to lean into that.
Cheers, Tommy.
Hey, enjoy your whiskey. I'm going to enjoy this $100.
Fuck.
Gotta zoom in. Yeah. There we go.
Okay, that's bullshit, though.
Smells like victory.
No, it smells like entrapment. You fucking trapped me.
Listen, it's all about willpower.
Yeah, and I did the
And
willpower thing.
No, you don't have.
I do. I have plenty.
You gave up.
I have lots. I'm very stubborn. Which is the problem. When I decided it was time to drink again, I was stubborn about that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You were.
So that's where we ended up. And you trapped me.
And I still need $100 from RJ, so that's a shout out to him. I'm going to tag him and I'll make sure that I'll keep bugging him. So.
No, you fucking trapped me. I wanted everyone to know that. So we went to the Wrestling United.
Do you want to introduce our guest first?
Oh, yeah.
He's
hey,
here.
Graham's here.
Hey, Graham.
Hey, guys.
Graham, welcome here.
Thanks
First
for having
of all,
me.
thank you for making time to be here. Secondly, short backstory, I'm sure it'll come up throughout the episode, but like, I've known Graeme for a very long time.
Yeah. Since like probably
15?
16
years old.
Okay.
Yeah, we've known each other a really, really long time. So I'm super pumped to have you sitting in that seat. And like, you've actually been on board and a supporter of our show, like right from the get-go.
Yeah, that's
so
awesome. I love what you guys
Love
what you guys are doing. This is amazing.
So
Happy to be here.
I'm pumped you're in that seat. And you're going to be a great guest, so I'm excited about that too.
Oh, geez.
Well, you know how to talk to people. You know how to you know microphones.
Yeah, I think so. I feel like that could be one of my better attributes, but also the thing that gets me into a lot of trouble.
Yep.
So
we'll probably get into some of that.
Wonderful.
So I was trapped into drinking again, and Tommy's going to make all kinds of faces.
I have my own story, but
he can
that's
fuck
okay.
himself.
Okay.
But so we went to the Wrestling United event.
Yes, which was fun.
last Thursday, based on today when we're recording. I don't know when this is coming out. I don't pay attention to that stuff. And so I was we went for drinks before, and I had Diet Pepsis. It was fine.
Yeah, we were drinking. I was
you
on
guys
my
were
day
drinking.
6. I was on
yeah,
my day
he was
6.
using one of his 14 days or whatever he decided to take. And I was drinking Diet Pepsis. I was kind and generous enough to drive the whole crew over to the wrestling event.
Yeah,
it was very nice of me to do
Appreciate
that.
it. Actually remind me, I have a story that I cannot share on here, but like I got to tell you after. Yeah.
So I drive the crew over. There's no parking anywhere, and so I dropped them off at the door like a gentleman. And
you're my best friend I've never had.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
So I drop them off at the door and they all pile out and I'm like, I'll go find some parking somewhere. So I'm like cruising the streets. I'm trying to find there's no fucking parking. I had to park so far away. So now I'm frustrated.
Across the street?
No, it was far away. Comparatively to where all the other parking was. Eat shit. I dropped you off at the fucking door.
It was further away from the front door.
Yes.
It was much further away, for the record.
Yeah.
Hundreds of yards.
Okay,
so,
fair.
And it's winter. It's cold. So I go.
When you're drinking.
I parked. I wasn't at that point. So I go park the car. I come back. I get into the event. Sure, I walk into the event, and the first thing he does is he has a beer in his hand and he puts it in my hand.
No.
That is exactly what you fucking did. That's entrapment.
I reached out.
That's entrapment.
You grabbed it.
Oh, well, fucking semantics.
Technicality.
That's bullshit.
Yeah.
That's entrapment. So I drank it, and then I was like, fuck it, I'm done. That's enough.
Yeah.
It
was a fun night.
I have a buddy who's super into the game Settlers of Catan, and he in his box he's got a little like black book, and he records every single win and loss.
Oh man!
And if there was any kind of foul play throughout the game, he'll call it a hollow victory. So I think that $100 might be under the hollow victory category.
Yeah, thank you. I think that's fair. Yeah, I think that's fair.
It's questionable because it is. I don't have all the information yet. I'm hoping to learn more, but it does sound like a win is a win. Maybe not your best wingman to get you through that night, though.
I think you're right. Yeah. I chose poorly.
No mercy.
And listen, the reality is I own it. I took it. I drank it. 100%. I could have said no. I said no to drinks a million times in the last 2.5 months.
Yeah.
I did. And so
so close.
I took it. I said, I'm doing this. I don't care. And I drank it. So that's on me. I'll own that.
On the bright side, you're welcome. Because you're drinking now.
That's true.
Yeah, like you're drinking.
It is nice. I have a whiskey in this non-whiskey.
I'm about to crack my zero sugar Shirley Temple.
Oh, I've been so into Diet A&W root beers lately.
It's the best. Up until the other day when I started drinking again, that was my everything. And that was because of you.
Yeah, I think
they're so good.
Yeah, they're.
I don't think I've ever tried.
Oh, dude, they're so. They taste. They don't. They just taste like root beer.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
they're fucking delicious.
I think the best thing is I've never really been a pop guy. Like for the last bunch of years, the only time I would drink pop is in a mixed drink, and so I'm not one of those guys that could tell you the difference between like Coke and I don't have those kinds of allegiances.
Yeah.
So then when you're like, I don't know, I'll try a diet soda, 0 calories, some hydration, tons of chemicals. Sounds like exactly what I should put in my body.
Cancer, it's
great. Yeah, you're like, this doesn't lead to anything negative.
I don't need diabetes on top of that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm already making enough hard choices every day. I'm like, but yeah, it's like for me, I'm like, this is so nostalgic. This tastes like going to A&W.
Yeah.
Because I'm not comparing it to the real deal, I guess, but
it's actually pretty close though.
Yeah.
The Diet A&W root beers are the closest diet drink to like the regular one, and I can't drink zero drinks. They make me sick.
Oh, okay.
Which is shocking.
Yeah.
Like that's weird in itself.
But
like
the funny thing is that I don't care necessarily like whether it's zero or diet, but I do prefer the diet. I think diet drinks are better than the zero ones. And it seems like they're taking away more diet drinks.
They're all gone.
They're creating like the zeros.
So my options are really limited now because zero drinks actually make me throw up.
Yeah.
Like they make me sick, and so I can't. So I went to the States the other week for my wife's medical stuff. I think we talked about that a little bit. And I was like, yes, Target, they're going to have all these sweet diet drinks. I wanted like Diet A&W cream soda. I just wanted it so bad.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
It's all zero now.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
so I can't do it.
When we went to the States, you asked me to look for it. It's like,
there is nothing.
Like 3 even Walmart. Yeah, I couldn't find it.
Like all I get here now is like Diet Ginger Ale and Diet A&W root beer.
Yeah.
And that's like
Diet Pepsi.
And Diet Coke or Pepsi, but I don't really like those very much. But yeah.
Is it just a different sweetener?
It's something in it that doesn't.
Yeah.
There's something else in it that like makes me ill.
Yeah, interesting.
So I just don't drink. I don't touch them.
I know my wife and her family are very. They all get reactions to diet drinks. Like they notice it. It's almost like cilantro in something. If you don't like cilantro, like if there's a diet, they're just like, nope, this is off-putting to me. But I know some people that actually physically get sick from it too, and from the fake sugars. I guess I would assume.
I mean, even the real sugar in the other ones is fake.
Zeros have
the
zeros have aspartame, and then the diets is like the other.
Diet's aspartame, but there's like
sucralose?
a combo.
No,
there's a combo in the zero drinks.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is from the States, so there's all the dyes, the Red 40 and all the
Red 40,
all the really good
yeah,
crap,
that's the one you really want to lean into.
Only for another 2 weeks, is it, till Trump gets elected? Then Red 40's out.
Oh, okay.
Anyways, we're not having that conversation.
I don't think I have that much hard drive on space.
So, anyways, Graeme, you're here. That's
I am
awesome.
Here. That is great.
You.
Why don't we check in?
Oh yeah, it's a check-in time.
Yeah, we should check in. Yeah,
okay.
Let's do
Cut
that.
me off like that. That's good. I like it.
I am I would say 6.
Okay.
It's been really, weird last couple of weeks. Just I don't know. Like I'm looking up a new therapist.
Okay.
Because I want to get back to therapy.
It's time.
Yeah, it's just I feel like there's some shit that I need. I don't even know what it is, but I just need to unload and just kind of find, I guess, what makes me tick. Because it's been a lot of lazy days and like I have shit to do, so I just kind of go through that, bust my ass, and then I crash hard, and then I have zero energy. I know my diet's not the best. I know like sleep is fucking horrible. If I can't sleep for 4 hours, I'm happy. Like even on the weekends, like I can't fall asleep, and then I wake up and just
Is it your brain or is it your body? Like
I think it's
they're all
both.
connected. I know,
but yeah, like So I do have some back issues. So I've been doing some stretches for my back, but I've been sleeping on the couch mainly because so we got a new mattress and it's super comfortable, but I wake up with like the craziest like back pain, and then I have to get up and like stretch, and I'm fine, but like it wakes me up, with the back aches, and I know that's me mainly because my core is just completely shot, and like I need to exercise. I don't have to drive. I just basically
just in a rut.
Yeah. I feel stuck a little bit. So
it does feel like you've been stuck a little bit lately, and I think like there's a lot of things factoring into that.
There was a lot of shit that happened in the last few months, and so I'm letting of that go as well, and just kind of trying to figure out who I am, basically. Yeah. So
good for you. That's a journey, and
it is.
It continues to go, and like you do it last year, and then you do it again this year. It's super fun.
I've looked back with some messages with some of my friends too, like a year ago, like what we talked about. Oh man, I didn't do anything I wanted to do.
No, you've come a long way in that sense.
No. As far as like, there's certain things that was like, okay, I'm gonna like personal.
Oh, you didn't accomplish any of your goals.
Yeah.
No, but you are different from a year ago.
Oh yeah, I 100%. But like the things that I really wanted to do for my health, I didn't do.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, I need to do fucking.
Well, get your fucking shit together.
Do something about it.
Knock it off.
It's so easy, right?
Yeah. Isn't that what we did? That's how we support each other, right?
I think that's exactly.
Yeah. Honesty, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as an outsider looking in, obviously a fan of the podcast. Like you said, we go back a long time, so I want to support you. And then just so happens that I'm pretty into talking and learning about men's mental health and that kind of stuff. But I would be interested to know, and obviously you don't need to share your list, but like, was starting a men's mental health podcast on your was right. Was like having this cool space, like being consistent with putting out good quality content, right? Like, I don't know, I think that's something that we'll probably dig into as we move forward on this podcast, but like sometimes we don't give ourselves the green check mark, like I did that on the stuff that we do day to day, and that's sometimes you just don't. Let me slow down here. I personally have a hard time being grateful in the moment, and when I look back to a year ago to where I was 1 year ago, and as we mentioned before we got on the show, I was kind of in a place where maybe it sounded like you were like stuck and just feeling like, oh man, like what's going on here? What can I fix? What can I change? Right. And it is like January is one of those times you look back and you're like, man, I didn't feel like I accomplished much. But if you think about it from a different lens or a different area, maybe professionally or maybe with your family, like maybe, I guarantee you can find the silver lining on what you did accomplish, but it's also good to critique yourself, because if you're like, man, I really want to get fit, or I want to drink less, I'm sure we'll talk about that too, or like eat better, like all like it's so big, right? So and it's hard to measure, because like I was thinking about it this morning. I was like, man, after Christmas and after all this stuff, it's like I'm so out of whack. Like I used to always consider myself not a structure person, but when I get out of structure, I realize how badly I need it,
or how well you function within it.
Yeah.
And I think you make a great point. Like, our lists of things we want to accomplish or we want to be or wherever we're headed on our journey is like so big. Like I have my work things, and that's like an endless list that keeps getting bigger. And then I have like my dad things and my husband things and my life things outside of that and my friend like we see these highlight reels always of these people we look up to, and it's like, oh, he's doing everything. It's like, no, the fuck he's not. Like nobody is.
Yeah.
And so I think you make a good point of like celebrating the wins no matter where they come.
Yeah, and we talked
But
about it on
being
our
critical
show.
of yourself as well. Like I think I'm super critical of myself.
Yeah.
And so like I get that. I'm good at that part. I'm not good at like the wins. And like I had this whole conversation with my wife the other day about like where I'm at in my career, and there's been a lot of hurdles and headaches, and like I've worked very, very hard and I've accomplished a lot of things, and like I also forget all of those things every day.
Yeah.
And like I don't let myself enjoy them. It's like, no, I'm not where I want to be, but like I think there's a positive and a negative way to treat yourself.
Yeah.
And like I tend to default towards treating myself negatively. And like, do I find motivation in that? Not positive motivation, but I do.
Yeah.
But like maybe I could find a better way to do that. And like I think that's what you're going through is like you've accomplished a lot. Like you're trying to build your graphic design business, and you're doing great, and you do great work, and like your skills have gotten better. You've learned so much, and like you're a better dad this last 12 months than you have been the 12 months before that.
Oh,
like you're a way better dad.
That is one of my biggest accomplishments this last year. I've bonded so much with my son this past year.
Yeah.
And I want to continue to do that. So again,
well, and I see that.
Yeah.
Like we're friends outside of this show, and we spend time together, our families spend time together. Like I see that you're a way better dad, and like to me that would actually be one of the most important things on your list.
It is.
And like you have done an exceptional job of that in the last 12 months.
It's the personal thing that for myself that, you know, and I strongly believe in, if I don't take care of myself, then I'm going to fall back to where I was a few years ago, right? And I don't want to get there. So
yeah, but I think Graeme makes a great point about that.
Yeah,
like
we need to celebrate the
find those
wins.
like, and I'm paraphrasing, I'm summing up what you're saying, but like find the things that you did do.
Yeah.
Use those as positive reinforcement, and use those as like you earned those. You worked hard at that. And like, did you do everything? No.
And you can.
Are we ever going to do everything? No. Fucking no.
Yeah.
Progress, not perfection.
Exactly. Yeah. What number are you?
Today, let's just go today.
Okay.
Or last week, whatever. I'm probably like a 7.
Whiskey will do that to you.
Yeah.
He's back, baby.
I've actually been really productive in the last little bit. I feel really good about it. My relationship with my wife has been like, I felt more connected to her. There were a few weeks before that where like we were just passing ships, and we just couldn't find that notch to like, even though we both had to be super busy, we couldn't find that mesh to like still feel connected. And like, you guys are both married, you know what that's like. And like, I hate that so much. And like, when Rachel and I aren't at least connected, which doesn't mean we're spending a pile of time together, but it means we're connected.
Yeah.
When we're not, it just like everything else sucks, and everything else is harder. Everything's more frustrating. It's just defeating, like all of that. And that's my foundation, is my family and my home. And like,
well, when you say that when you're connected, like things click, because like, you might spend a little time together, but that time is like really good quality.
It just matters so much, and it accomplishes so much. It feels so. The volume of it is so much bigger than everything else, and so this last like week and a bit, we've really been that way. Even though we've both been super busy, we've been like passing ships. We've felt differently, and like that just changes everything. It changes the tone in our home, changes the way my daughter behaves, because like she sees that, and she's so like they feel it, and they may not make observation of it verbally, but like, you know, they feel it. And like that's been the last week has felt like that. So it's been awesome.
Just want a quick follow up, because a few episodes ago you mentioned that your wife has been going through medical stuff, and then you said that you were feeling burnt out. So is that now kind of getting back to normal a little bit, or do you still have that wearing off?
No, she's on the path to recovery, like in a huge way. Her health is so much better. Her energy is so much better. Like you saw her at New Year's, like 6 months ago, seeing her at all would have been impossible.
Yeah.
And like that's changed, and that changes me. It changes my level of burnout. I don't have to do as much. Like we're sharing in the load.
Yeah.
We're sharing the load, and that just makes such a difference because it's just, again, you're like connected and you're sharing it, and like it does take both of us to make everything in our lives work.
Yeah. Nice.
And even that seems overwhelming, but like, man, it just feels different. Yeah.
Good.
Thanks for asking, though. I appreciate that. Graeme?
How sad are you?
I'm in a pretty good place actually right now. I would say I'd say, I guess for context, because you guys kind of have your baselines too. I think that I usually hover around a 7.5. Like I think that I'm usually like, I wake up in the morning and I've got energy and I'm excited for the day and I want to make my kids breakfast and dance parties in the morning. Like I have like, I feel like I'm at a good point right now where I feel like I've got tons of purpose, and that's something that I thrive off of is that. And whether it's, you know, being the calm in the storm when my wife's life is really busy with work, and then also being able to interject the fun a little bit more, because my wife's more analytical and like, no, strict isn't the right word, but she's structured in that sense where it's like she worries about bedtimes. I don't worry about that stuff, and she worries about it because I don't worry about it, right?
Yeah, like, somebody has to.
Yeah,
exactly.
So it's like she'll be focused on all those other things, and then I get to be the guy that comes in and like, let's have a dance party. Like my kids are super into Chumbawamba tub thumping right now.
Nice.
So I'm just like, okay.
Everyone should be at some point.
Yeah.
It's nice to see that's continuing.
I still am kind of.
Well, I made a deal to myself. It was like my oldest is almost 7, and
That's
like
a fun age.
Yeah, it's awesome. And like driving her to daycare when she was like 3, I was just like, oh my gosh, it's gonna be like Bluey songs and like all of the like, you know, the like kid stuff. And I was like that can exist, but it doesn't need to be the only thing. So I was just like, I'm just gonna start playing her music, and she's got this like unbelievable retention of lyrics, melody, like naturally more gifted at music than I ever would hope to be. And when she started being like, Dad, let's sing this duet together, we'd sing like Taylor Swift songs, and I'd do the boy parts, she'd do the girl parts. And there's some songs where it starts to get really weird when you're doing that with your like 5-year-old daughter, and you're just like, I don't like these lyrics very much anymore. But like she like her understanding of melody and that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's like good. Lots of really cool stuff. So yeah, we listen to actual music, not just the like dun dun da 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 dun dun, which every parent out there is about to drop kick me because they know exactly what that is, right? So, but yeah, I'd say I'm an 8 out of 10. I have a bit of a like I've had a bit of a cloud over me the last like 5 days, and it's one of those things where it's like I'm not sad, I'm not depressed. I know it's not anything big, but I just feel like I'm not like something. There's an itch that needs to be scratched, or I need like there's just something. And yeah. So last time I felt this way, it was like, I don't know, sometime last week maybe, and I was just like, I don't feel myself. So I just put on all of my winter gear and I went for a walk around the block, and I got like halfway through the park near our house, and I could like feel my shoulders release, and I was like, oh, I just probably needed a little bit of fresh air, right? It's usually not like, oh, I don't feel myself, I should probably reinvent everything. Like it's like no, like
not that dramatic of
which I think goes back to talk what Tommy said. Like I look at 2024 and there's so many things I didn't accomplish. It's like you're right, and same thing on my list, and I'm sure it's the same for everybody. But it's those moments where I'm just like, I look back to where I was a year ago as far as burnt out and depressed and anxiety ridden, and like couldn't figure out, you know, like, well, like how did I even get here, let alone where do we go from here? And now I'm a year further along in that journey, and I think I just recognize the things in my body way earlier. So to like spin it positively for you, you're feeling a certain way right now. Maybe Tommy 5 years ago, this would be like you're just recognizing it more because you talk about it more. You understand yourself better. It could be as simple as you're not hydrated enough, or your diet's not right, or whatever, like those little things. Because that's 100% how I feel. My wife and we took the family to Ontario. We've got my wife's family, a bunch of her in-laws, or my in-laws, her family, from Southern Ontario. So we went there around the 15th, 16th of December, and we did a bunch of the Christmas stuff there, and it was amazing. It's so great to see everybody, but that's draining. Like it's because you're trying to catch up, you're trying to have meaningful conversations because you see these people once. Last time we saw them was 5 years ago, right? So I always have to build it into, for me, it's like the day I get back from a trip like that, I know I'm going to be useless. I know I need my own downtime. I need to recharge my battery. So yeah, I definitely can empathize with the burnt out and the like things just aren't firing the way that they are. But
do you have like you said you went for a walk? Do you have a set of tools that you've been using for some time to deal with those moments, or?
Yeah, I do. It's funny, like it's so cheesy. It's all so cheesy. Like everything in my life and my brain anyways feels like, that old picture from Offices where it's like a cat and it's like, just hang in there. Like those like motivational things.
Yeah, they're awesome.
Like you Google like men's mental health or anxiety or any of these things, and then your feed just gets filled with a lot of these things, right? And there's lots of influencers that post these things. So like, but yeah, one of the things that I saw in this process was, if you don't have time for a 10-minute walk, you need a 20-minute walk. Okay. And I hate walking. Like it's so like, it's like, to me, I'm just like, give me a hockey stick, give me a ball, give me like a reason to go do something. Like if it's like, hey, can you carry this to the neighbor's house? It's like, yeah, that makes sense. I have, but
it's a task
purpose.
Yeah. But to just like put my boots on and go for a walk around the neighborhood just
sounds awful.
Yeah, it doesn't like, yeah, it does. And like, but so the other thing that I kind of try to think about is the thing you want to do the least is probably the thing you need to do the most. So if you're thinking like, okay, I really should go to the gym, I don't want to go to the gym, or I really want to do this, or I really want whatever it is, it's like eat the frog, right? Do the thing that you want to do the least first so that you can accomplish it and move forward, right? So going for walks is one of those things, like that's high on my list. I don't do it nearly as much. I have a pretty stationary job and I work from home. So it's like I don't get a ton of steps in naturally, so I have to force myself.
Easy to get stuck in that.
Yeah, and then you like, and then through like, especially through COVID, like I'm used to working from home. That part didn't change during COVID, but everybody else was home, and then everybody else changed, and then things weren't open. So it was like I used to have this like, I'm gonna go meet somebody for coffee on this day at this time, and you would naturally have more socializing that would happen, and then when that kind of gets taken away from you because you can't socialize the same way anymore, you're like, okay, well, I got to shift gears, I got to get into a different type of, like, I'm a little bit more reclusive now, and then it's easy to stay that way because staying home is way better than going for a walk. And
and I want to talk about that a little bit. We're just going to take a couple minutes and then we'll dig into that.
Sounds good.
Are you going all the way to the end?
Oh yeah. Well, Friday I'm using my day 7.
Oh yeah, you're at the Belgian club.
Yeah. So I play sponge hockey, and every year, because of our winters are so crazy now, that we get like one weekend where we can't play because the ice is actually melting.
Right.
So they usually.
Oh, you want to talk about climate change?
We have the makeup games on Fridays, and then Friday nights at the Belgian club there's karaoke night, and the Belgian club sponsors our team. So we always go back after games, but so if it's on a Friday night evening, we play, and then we go to the Belgian club, and usually it ends up us coming home at like 3 or 4 a.m. in the morning.
So you're using your like 17th day of drinking.
7th.
Yeah, well, whatever.
Day. I
Hollow victory.
I used 24 hours as one day.
I like the 24-hour rule.
And I used it smart. So if I started drinking, my very first day, I started drinking at 10 p.m., so then I could go till 10 p.m. the next day.
That's fair.
So I woke up in the afternoon. I'm like, ooh, okay.
You should have been a lawyer. That's a great.
Yeah.
No, I couldn't be a lawyer. I would lose most of my cases, except when it comes to drinking. No, but yeah. So I use them smart. So that's why I have one more day left.
Yeah. I like that idea of how you guys did it, where you had some of those flex days in there. And something I said to Tim when we were just chatting about it beforehand was like, it's hard enough to stick to something hard, right? Like the whole purpose of doing something like stopping alcohol for dry January, or you guys went for Big Air. You guys went for 3 months.
A little too, well, 2.5 for me, but not quite.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. Sidebar. The first time I did it in February, and I walked into a local watering hole, and they're like, "Could I get you something?" And I was like, "I'm just gonna actually have a coffee. I'm meeting somebody." And the bartender, who I know quite well, looked at me and he's like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "Dry February." And he's like, "Shortest month of the year, eh?" And I was like, didn't even occur to me, but I was like, that's actually pretty good science. That's
right?
Good. Yeah, yeah.
Don't pick a leap year. And it's even better.
Yeah. Yeah. No, but I just love the fact that people are doing that, because people stop, like, it makes it easier to not have drinks when you're going to a place, right? Yeah. Like, you go in January and people are like, "Are you doing dry January?" You're like, "Yeah, I am." It's like, okay, cool. And then you don't feel the same sort of social pressure. And I think that's a big part of, alcohol consumption in general,
sure.
right? Like, it's like we all, like, I'm a person. I get it. It's like I would for sure have a drink or two to, like, lower the inhibitions before going into an uncomfortable situation, or like, it's like, oh, there's going to be lots of people here. I don't know. Like, am I, like those anxieties, those social anxieties, it's like alcohol definitely helps that barrier to entry, right? And when you start realizing, you're like, oh, it's going to look weird if I order something that isn't, my usual, or it isn't something with alcohol in it.
Yeah, then it's another set of anxiety.
Yeah. And then now you look around and, like, you probably can't find a restaurant that doesn't have a non-alcoholic beer on the menu, or some non-alcoholic cocktails, like, especially if you go to, like, a good cocktail bar, they are more about putting out good stuff rather than, like, they're not, it's like, we're not going to Scandals at 19 years old trying to get, like, it's like trying to, or like, for me, it was the Pemby, like, I've got $20. How fast can I drink these, like, 2 pitchers of beer so that I get drunk off of these, this $20, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, now it's like, well, I want to enjoy it, right?
Yeah. Well, and I think that, like, I think the numbers are showing it, but, like, the younger generations than us, like, you and I are about the same age. Tommy's a little bit younger, but, like, they don't drink the way we do.
No.
Like, they don't, alcohol is not the same thing for them that it is for us.
Yeah.
And I think people are adapting, and bars and restaurants and the alcohol industry is adapting, and I don't know how much you want to talk about what you do for work, but, like, that's something you must be aware of, and, like, the people in your world are tracking and noticing, and, like, I mean, even we see, like, cannabis beverages are a majorly growing part of the industry, and it's like, yeah, kids aren't drinking. Kids, I say kids because I'm old, but, like,
20-year-olds,
20 whatever kids. They're not drinking alcohol the same way.
No,
they're not consuming alcohol the same way that we consume or consumed alcohol. But, like, they've still found their thing to soften the blow of all those same things we're talking about.
Yeah.
Like, it's actually not any different. And is it healthier? I would actually say to some extent yes, but, like, all comes with its own issues and its own whatever. Like, you abuse anything, it's bad.
Yeah.
But, like, they're just doing the same thing with a different substance.
Yeah.
Like, everybody wants to, like, the history of humanity has been about, like, can we soften the blow with something a little bit? Like, wine, like, wine's been around forever. Beer's been around forever. Like, life's tough. It's okay.
Yeah, I just watched, I don't know what show or movie you watched with the wife, but it was like, something back in the days, and it was just like, oh, you might want to inhale this because I got to put these stitches on your giant gash, and then so the guy's like, and it was like an opioid or something, right? But, like, that's what they used, and things were natural. Now, again, it helped in a short,
there's
short
a purpose
time, but there's a purpose.
Abuse
for it.
is never
and that's just like with anything, right? Like with alcohol too. Like, we had this conversation before that we started recording, is that it's nice. Like, when I've taken the 4 months off, it helped me realize that I don't need to drink. I want to have a drink, right? Like, right now, I'm going to have a drink, and I'm going to enjoy it. And since then...
Right now you're going to?
No.
Okay.
Right now, I'm enjoying a nice Shirley Temple. I'm not giving you the $100.
Yeah, get that brown back out of that pocket.
But, yeah, it's just this... It's now I can make that decision. Like, you know what? No, I don't need a drink. But, like, on days when I'm drinking, I can come home and had a shitty day. You know what? I'm going to sit down, tell the wife, just give me 20 minutes, I'll have a stiff whiskey or whatever, right? And I'm going to enjoy that.
Yeah.
That's it. Like,
So, Graeme, you work in the alcohol industry. You have for actually quite a long time. How many years has it been?
In like since I was 18 and one
like
way,
you've been
shape, or
serving
form.
and you've been bartending and whatever.
Yeah, but doing what I do now, so I'm a purveyor of fine wines and spirits and beer. So I don't need to talk about the company or anything like that. I don't want it. I don't want. Because my goal isn't to turn this into an alcohol commercial by any stretch. If anything, probably the opposite.
No.
Well, unless you want to sponsor this show.
But I think I want to talk about. I want to talk about your experience through that, because I know you've been through some significant life moments and changes, and like you're in an industry, and maybe I'll just get right to it. But like you're in an industry that socializing alcohol, and you're on the sales side of your business.
Yep.
And you have been more so previous maybe than now, but like that was also, I think, partially a conscious decision. Mm-hmm. And maybe I'm wrong. You can explain, you can correct me, but like that's a hard thing when your whole career, you could view your whole career as like, I go out and drink with people and that's what makes me successful.
Sure.
Like I've been that. Yeah. I've done that. Mm-hmm. Like when I had my previous business, like that was a big part of what made me good at what I did. Yeah. And I actually believe it was, how much was alcohol? Maybe not alcohol, but entertaining, social, and alcohol just always gets tied into those things. So yeah, you did that, and you did that. You're very good at what you do, and you did that very successfully for a long time. And then you spoke earlier a little bit about like a shift, and maybe COVID. I don't know if COVID itself, maybe COVID itself was not part of that, but like that time and that shift in people's behaviors and people's the social atmosphere and all those things like changed. I've seen a change in you, and not that we've been super tight for a bunch of years, but like I've seen a change in you from who you were before that to now. Mm-hmm. And I just wanted to talk about that a little bit, because you and I have never really had that conversation in depth, and I've always been curious.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Yeah, so the role that I have with our organization is I basically sell beverage alcohol to the province of Manitoba. Yeah, and then from there we get it distributed into different retail outlets. Mostly, again, I feel like no matter what I say, I'm going to like it's going to sound like it's coming off political. I'm like, and then the government of Manitoba, they have retail stores and they sell, and the government does this and then the government does that. No, so essentially just not bore anybody with the like pivot tables and spreadsheets and the numbers that I look at every day.
I love a good pivot table though, yeah. Let me tell you.
But when I got into the industry, I was clearly younger, and I wasn't married. I was still with like same partner since I was 18 years old. So we were together, but we weren't married. So my life was a little bit different. It was easier to have later nights. It was easier to go out and host the party and do all those things, right? Like take people to the game and then take them out for drinks afterwards. You get to swipe the credit card and look like the big wheel.
It's
and
glamorous.
Whatever.
There's a certain amount of glamour to it.
And as a client, anybody feels
everyone loves it
when they're being taken care of. So.
Exactly. And then so there's part of it where you're like, I have to do this because the client or the customer or the relationship depends on it. And then there's part of it where it's like, well, this is also fun. Like there's a reason that people go out and eat delicious food and drink delicious drinks and do stuff, right? Like
it's fun. It feels good.
Yeah. So for a really long stretch of time, my social life revolved around that, right? Mm-hmm. Like whether it was, and prior to getting into this industry, I was a server and a bartender and played in a band or a couple bands, right? And toured, and like I spent the formative years of my
life.
We were in Labs of Many together.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. Are you with me? Shout out. Because you should be. You should be. Yeah. But yeah, so it's like when I think it comes back to, and we talked about it a little bit off air, where it's like the routine of things and the habit of things. You finish your shift at the restaurant, you sit down, you have beers with your like fellow comrades.
It's just what you do.
Yeah, you just got through like our version of like combat, and you sit down and you're like, we got slammed tonight, Appy's got killed, whatever happened. And then and I always loved that, because the first thing that I realized it was like, if I'm friends with the cooks and the cooks are friends with me, I am going to have a way better experience for my tables. So we like all got really tight really quick, and it wasn't like I wasn't diabolical, like I should be friends with the cooks so they do me favors, but it was like I become friends with everybody. I think that's sort of my personality.
That's a bit of your natural instinct anyways.
Yeah, and I think that I always looked at the restaurant industry as like, I'm not going to make as much money in the back of the house. I'll make more money in the front of the house. So that's what I should do. And it's so funny because I've always had more of like a passion for the food side of things, I think. And that has, has opened up when I stopped working in restaurants. But when I go to restaurants, I'm super curious about the ingredients they use in their drinks or this and this and that. And I know you guys just had Blake on not too long ago, and he's like a next level, like home. Like,
oh man, he's
like,
unbelievable.
He's not a home cook. He's definitely a different level.
Do you know about his new venture?
No,
I think I can announce it today, actually.
Oh, that's amazing.
Can you?
I think so. Yeah. I'll check after, but we'll say it now.
Yeah, say it now.
He bought GJ Andrews.
What?
Yeah.
Sick.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's so good.
After that episode, I messaged you and I was like, I'm so curious.
And I couldn't say anything at that point, but I think on the 20th, same day as Trump takes over, just for which we're not having a conversation about.
Yeah.
But no, he bought GJ Andrews, which I think for him, like, nobody listening to this knows him, but you know him a bit and I know him, and like, it's the perfect fucking fit for him.
Oh,
I cannot think of a better place for him to be the owner.
Man, I honestly have goosebumps because it's not that often that it happens where somebody tells you that they're going to do something. And we can circle back to this, and it'll be a story about RJ, who we both know, but like, that is perfect.
Right?
He's such a wine guy. He's such a food guy.
Yeah.
Like, if I've been in the industry for a long time, so I consider myself to be a bit of an expert when it comes to like,
as you should,
wines and spirits and different drinks. And he would be a guy that I would ask without a doubt for recommendations.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, whatever clout I have, which is not much, maybe. But
I don't know. You've been around a long time.
Yeah, but I think that that's wicked. That's really great.
Congratulations, Blake.
Super fucking exciting.
Yeah, this is probably terrible, like podcasting right now. I'm just like, but no, like
Kleenex.
Yeah, whether this gets aired or it doesn't get aired, like it's so cool. Like I've known Blake for a bunch of years, but super distant. Like I know him from events, or I know him from the industry a bit. We don't know each other super well, not nearly as well as you guys. And you and Blake know each other because you spend 18 holes walking the course together. You learn quite a bit about somebody, right?
Yeah.
But what I do know of him that couldn't be a better fit, and I wish him all the best. And if there's anything I can do to help him and support him, it's
unbelievable.
I'm gonna do that. That's good.
Okay, back to you.
Yes.
So we're touching on like the social thing, and I'll speak from my own experience, and maybe that'll trigger something to talk about. But like, I spent so many years feeling like, okay, I'm good at entertaining. There is an importance to this. It does change my business. It affects, which in turn affects my life at home, my life it changes everything. I make my money from so much of it being how good I am at entertaining people and doing this and that. And like, then for me, it became this thing where like, well, if I don't do it, who the fuck am I? Like, if I don't do this thing, am I good at this? Am I like, what is this? And I just, they got so blurred that it's like, well, if I don't go out and get wasted with people, like what value am I, are they going to care about buying my thing or being a part of my program or whatever that is? And like, I got those lines very blurred, and they're also very, very easily blurred lines.
Right.
Because I think there is an importance and there's a line, but like, man, after 10 p.m., that line's hard to find.
Yeah.
So you're married, or you're with your wife. I've been with I've had a couple of girlfriends while I've been in that world, and now I have a wife, and like, again, I'm kind of in that, like, it's the sales marketing thing, it's the relationship thing, and like, nobody who hasn't done it really gets it.
Yeah.
But also, am I just blowing it up because it's fun to go out and party and eat fancy food with people?
Probably
like,
both.
My wife challenges me on every partner I've had while I've been in that world has challenged me on that.
Yeah.
Well, you get to go here and do this thing, and it's like, yeah, but I have to be on. I have to, like, I'm working. I have to be on.
Yeah.
Which
It's
means
fun, but
it is fun for sure. It's fun, and like I'm not denying that. Also, like, I got really good at being just a little bit less drunk than most of the people at the table, and like that's a strategy. And like it, I don't know. Like I feel like so much of that is the same as you. Like I've always felt like we've had that aligned with each other, where like you were actually in the industry of the things being consumed, but like it's the same thing.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. It's like lots of expense accounts. It's like, oh yeah, you can put everything on this tab, but you got to put all the alcohol on the other tab. And my role is the exact opposite. It's like the more alcohol and the less food and the less of the other stuff. Like, it's like that's how it always was. And I think that especially if you're the one that's you're trying to create an experience, you're trying to create something that matters, and not necessarily because you're like, oh, I know I'm going to hit this guy up for an ask at the end of the night or whatever. But
that goes away pretty quick.
Yeah.
When you get more refined in when you just get more natural about what you do.
Yeah. To me, it was always an excuse to be more like vulnerable with people. Like getting together in that setting is very different than sitting in like a presentation pitch, or it's like whatever it might be. Here's my product. It's also
totally different.
It's all so cheesy. Like it really, like
no matter how you do it, it just is. It is.
Yeah. Right. And it doesn't matter if you sell cool stuff. Like I consider the industry that I work in unbelievably cool. Like we sell premium spirits and high-end beer and really nice wines. Like they're really easy things to talk about just in general, right? It's like I'm an easy guy to talk to at a cocktail party because we're off air and Tommy's asking me questions about whiskey, right? Like it's a pretty cool commonality, and I get to be a little bit of an authority on the subject. And I can appreciate that, and I love it, and I guess trying to tie this all back together to like healthier living, and not doing like a sober January or sober October, whatever you want to call it. Did I find it challenging to transition from where I was to where I am now? I didn't, but that was again one of the things we mentioned or wanted to talk about was COVID affecting that too. It was like COVID hit and nobody was doing that. So it started to make everybody reevaluate things, because then all of a sudden, if my whole personality was built up around the fact that I'm a fun guy in the room and I'm going to buy the shots and I'm going to tell you funny stories and quote like 19 Kevin Costner movies for no reason, for my own benefit, not for anybody else.
There's always a reason to quote Kevin Costner movies, but fine.
But it's like you get it into your head that like this is your persona, or
this is the value I bring to people.
And then it has and it continues to cross my mind that if I'm going to be the guy that's like, hey, we're going to go out, we're going to do all this stuff, and this is what's going to happen, I'm going to be buying the drinks, and then if I'm not having the drink, that also feels weird in a different way, because now I'm like, hey, why don't you guys all have this, but I'm not going to drink my own
I'm
stuff.
good, thanks.
So it's a delicate balance, like it's like something that I've always been like 100% on is Ubers, cabs. Like, so if I'm going to a work event, if I know that I'm going to sample one thing, I'm not driving, because I want to put because I feel like I have a higher responsibility than everybody else. So I think that the perception could be for like, and I'll like dumb it down to, it's like I'm a booze rep, like a liquor salesman, right? Like it can easily be looked at as like, you just go out to the bars, you party, you buy drinks, and your job is done. And it's like, that is like negative a percentage of what my job is. Did I take advantage of it when I was younger and it was a little bit easier and I didn't need to wake up early because my kids needed to like eat breakfast and get to school and stuff? Sure, yeah, I had some late nights over the years, but at the end of the day, I'm not good at what I do because I have a higher alcohol tolerance than other people. I'm good at what I do because I'm a genuine person. I'm empathetic, and people gravitate to me. And I think that the hardest thing for me to realize was, am I that person without having a couple drinks to loosen me up? Am I going to be like, uptight and to myself? And what I've realized is, whether I have a cocktail or I don't have a cocktail, I'm still me. Like, one's going to accentuate elements of your personality, and sometimes it's good and sometimes it's not good. And what I've realized too is, like, it's not always good. It doesn't always service me. Yeah. And in my head, it was always like, have a couple drinks, go do this, it's going to be great. And now I'm looking at it, I'm just like, but I know that if I do that, my guard will be down, and you don't want to say the wrong thing. Yeah, you don't want to like whatever. And then you just get to a point where you're older, and I'd way rather be the best dad I can possibly be from like 5 a.m. till 8 a.m. before the kids leave for school every morning. Like that became the most important timeline of my day, because I can help set the tone for the day for everyone in my family. So it's sort of like I switched my thought process I try to maintain the thought process of being the thermostat, not the thermometer. I want to dictate the temperature, and the temperature I want to dictate is usually the right one, and it's not always the case. Sometimes you walk into a room and you start talking about American politics, or but
nice callback.
But like, COVID or no COVID, we went through a lot of stuff over the last bunch of years, right? And I feel like this isn't new news, but like, the world is very divisive, and I don't want to fuel any of the negativity part of that. And I totally know during COVID, I'm like, it's 9:30 p.m. The kids have been asleep. I'm 3 whiskeys in, and I'm looking at posts, and I'm just like, trucker rally to Ottawa. Like, I need to weigh in on this.
Everyone needs to hear what I have to say.
Yeah. And like you fast forward a couple years, and you realize you're just like, scroll past. I think that, and again, I can only speak for myself, but like, when you use social media as your news source, which a lot of us do, you also have this opportunity to engage. And when you do choose to engage, like, is it for the right reasons or the wrong reasons? And what I've realized is
it's always the wrong reasons.
I've never seen a positive outcome.
No.
My favorite one's always like, did you see this post? Like, yeah, that's from 5 years ago, buddy. And they fully believe that that's happening right now. And
people appreciate the fact that you're genuine and authentic. Just be yourself. Like, I complimented Justin Lamuda from Rainy Day Forge. He put his YouTube video out, and I've seen every other video he's done, but this one was different. And I reached out to him, and then when he answered, he said that he was just being himself.
Guys, listen up. You know what makes life better? Great knives. But not just any knives, custom knives. Need a knife that'll handle your outdoor adventures? Or a kitchen knife sharp enough to make you feel like a pro? Check out Rainy Day Forge. Crafted right here in Winnipeg. Get yours today at rainydayforge.ca.
It's captivating. Why? Because he's being himself. There we go.
From their humble roots in kitchens and music venues all over Winnipeg, the creators of Intergalactic Sauces have turned their passion project into a line of must-have condiments for flavor and heat lovers everywhere. Getting their start selling tacos to hungry concert goers at local underground music festivals, the Intergalactic crew has stayed true to its DIY rock and roll aesthetic. Every delicious bottle is a carefully designed collaboration with indie designers, printers, and a bit of inspiration from the cosmos. Whether it's a limited run or one of Intergalactic's core flavors, whether you want to add a bit of zip to a meal or blow your head off with heat, there's a sauce for everyone. Go to intergalacticsauces.com and get your sauce today.
So I want to rewind just a tiny bit. So I actually want to go back to before... if you're okay with it, I'd like to talk about your the process of like you, because your first child was born before COVID.
Correct.
So I want to talk about you being a dad.
Yeah. Okay.
I know that's been a long, arduous journey, or it was a long, arduous journey up until that point. And so I'd actually like to talk about that a little bit. So
For sure.
That changed you in a huge way. I think that was the biggest life change I've seen you go through.
Yeah.
Never mind COVID. Like we can go from there forward, but like I actually want to talk about the process of you becoming a father, because I think that changed you in a huge way.
Oh yeah, 100%.
So if you're willing to share, like,
I'm an open book, man. Yeah, let's talk about it.
I'll just preface with a very minor amount of knowledge, which is you and your wife had a very difficult time conceiving, like having a child.
Yeah.
And so I'd like to talk about that, like what that experience was for you. And I'm sure we have other listeners that like are having that hard time. Like I didn't realize until later in life, like how hard it was for people to get fucking pregnant.
Yeah.
And maybe it's because I grew up in a Mennonite church and they were just like, if you have sex once, you get pregnant.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, people try for fucking years. And like my younger brother, like it took them a very long time. And like I learned a lot through getting a little bit older, and like your story, like when my brother had a hard time, I already knew your story a little bit. And so like I was just like, yeah, this is just a thing that happens to people. So I don't want to say any more. Like, I'd love for you to share some of that, because I know we probably have listeners that are having a difficult time with that.
For sure. Yeah.
So maybe if you want to touch on your experience through that.
Yeah, 100%. And you know what? And it does tie into everything about me. Okay, so let's go back. Okay, so my oldest she turned 7 in March. So I've got a almost 7-year-old daughter now. My wife and I started trying to grow our family, I would say 6 years prior to success. At minimum, it was a pretty long journey, and yeah, we were just like, okay, I guess we're at that point now in our marriage. We want to grow the family, so you know, you do all of the you take away all the precautionary things, and you're like, okay, this is what we're gonna do, and we just weren't having any success. It just wasn't working. So got to a point where we're like, okay, well, let's go see somebody or whatever. So then we went to a fertility clinic, and they started doing the research and doing all the testing, which I'm vulnerable, I'm open, I'm here for a reason. But yeah, masturbating in a clinical like shanty kind of room when you can hear people talking outside,
that's gotta be a little tough.
Yeah, it's not the move. It's
yeah, right.
That's probably not like a hashtag or like a keyed in like scenario that people dream up in their fantasies. But also knowing that what I had to go through was a little bit embarrassing, a little bit whatever, but I'm willing to talk about it, so it couldn't have been that bad. But what the men go through is far less than the invasive part of it, what women have to go through. So yeah, our journey through that, we went through fertility, so it was a lot, and it was a lot of years, and it was a lot of like bad results, like no results, like, yeah, this didn't work, this isn't gonna work, you guys are probably not gonna be able to have a family. Basically, science basically told us, like, you aren't having,
it's not gonna happen.
You're not having a family this way.
How did that affect your, like, what was, I mean, you can only assume that's strenuous on a relationship. When was the common goal of we're getting this done? Obviously it brought you guys together, you found a way to do that, but like, what was that process like?
Yeah, it was,
I'm sure there was a lot of tears and a lot of hard conversations and a lot of that.
Yeah, I think the hardest part was it took me a while afterwards to kind of mourn all of the hard parts of it, because it wasn't like our situation, like it wasn't because of me, like it was whatever, like, and I'm not saying that because I feel like I need to
just
whatever. I knew that I wasn't the reason that we weren't getting pregnant. My wife was born with a certain situation that it made it very challenging for us. And I think that she had always wanted a family, and she had always wanted kids far more than I ever knew that I wanted kids. And it always feels weird now, because now I have 2 daughters, and I would like lay down in traffic for them in a heartbeat, obviously.
But I think we don't, as men, we don't get that same, like, our bodies don't tell us the same thing.
We're not programmed that way.
Not for the nurturing long, like, we want to have sex and we want to procreate.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
But like,
We don't
that's
look at
kind
like,
of,
I want to grow a family, have that
I don't
unity.
think
look
we
at
have that
Yeah.
nesting, nurturing.
No.
Like our bodies don't tell us that.
Yeah.
Until a point. I
Yeah.
think it happens at a point.
I think our when it happens, once you see that your first kid, or
Well, and you guys would know. I wouldn't know actually,
but you
the
now,
same way.
You've,
Sorry, the same way I wouldn't.
Yeah,
know.
but you've learned to love
yeah.
your daughter the same way as we love our kids.
Oh yeah, I'd lay down in
And,
traffic 7 days a week.
So,
Yeah.
but
anytime.
it's just I think it's that protective instinct that is activated.
But it's a
in
thing
us,
that
you know?
exists.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
a protective instinct over a thing that exists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No different than you'd protect your wife.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but I would use my wife as a shield to protect my kid.
See, I've heard comedians say things to that extent too. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I'd throw her in front of a bus if it meant I could save my kids.
100%.
Oh, yeah.
That's all.
Yeah,
That,
yeah, it's-
but
I mean, I would try to throw myself first, and then
sure.
but like,
if that didn't work,
but if that was the only option, like my kids and the wife goes
yeah.
for sure.
Sorry, I didn't. So I didn't want to. So, your wife had she was the. I don't want to say the reason, but it was her. It was her body that was rejecting things, and you were fine.
So,
Yeah.
I want to chime in because like we went through a similar thing where for us it didn't take years necessarily. With the first one, it took us 8 months, but with our son, it took us 2.5 years.
Yeah.
And same thing, it was the trying and everything. So we like for us, what it was that her ovulation window was so short that we couldn't time it. But then what happened on top of that is adding stress on me to perform. It actually lowered the sperm count a little bit. That it was just like it was just because I was stressed out. I wasn't performing as well, and it was just kind of things on top of each other, right?
And it's less spontaneous. It's more of a job.
Yeah, it was
we have to
scheduled,
do this
yeah.
because like temperatures
okay,
are
now,
yeah. and that like I guess the whole purpose of podcasts like this is to talk about the weird, uncomfortable
Yeah, of course.
stuff about that side of things, especially from the male perspective.
yeah.
So I there's part of me that's just like, I don't want it to sound like
No, that's the
chauvinistic.
point. That's
but,
why we're here.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, it's like that like in my head, like when I was a kid, when I was like, oh, I can't wait to grow up and like get married and have kids and start a family, like I wasn't anticipating a stopwatch or a calendar involved or those kinds of things, right? And nobody like, and my wife wasn't either. Like we got dealt a hand that we had to navigate. Yeah. So we went through that for quite some time, and that's also why I always like kind of joke to lighten it up a bit about like me masturbating in a small room, and I'll say it probably 4 more times because it's hilarious, but also it shifts the focus away from my wife, who was the center of attention from so many people that were close to us when we were going through it. So I would say stuff like that all the time because it would really shut a lot of people up because there's always those uncomfortable conversations where it's just like, oh, when are you guys going to have kids? And like when you're like, 35 and you don't have a family yet and you're both pretty established in your careers and like from the outside, it's like
and also, you've been trying for how long, and nobody knows that, and like it's also none of their fucking business. Just to refresh a little bit, like Connie physically had some issues that were preventing or complicating that process. You at that point didn't, but there's obviously a relational and a mental thing, and like all this stuff in your relationship that these are discussions I would assume were happening often, and this was a very active part of your life. What was that like? How did that affect your relationship, both positive and negative? And the positives, I'm sure, have come over time. You guys were together long before you decided to have children, so there was a very stable foundation underneath you.
Yeah, I guess the first takeaway from like big broad strokes is having kids doesn't make things easier. And the process of trying to have kids should be very enjoyable, but it doesn't always necessarily make things easier. So the one thing that I will always be very, very proud of is our communication has always been really, really solid. Like we've been together since Like, I remember being in Toronto when I turned 19, and it was the first time that I could have a legal drink in Ontario. And we were starting our relationship at that point. So I'm 43 now, and we started dating when we were 19. So we've been together for a long time. So in that time, we learned a lot about communication, what, good, bad, how all of it, right? We learned each other. So then going through the infertility stuff was really, really challenging because, and again, I'm not saying it's like I had nothing to do with it. It's not that. It's that if it was my body that was not able to produce children for my relationship, I don't think that would have been the end of my relationship by any stretch, but it would have been a different version of me in the relationship, because then we would have had to talk about like sperm donors or adoption, which we did. We went down all of these things, and we got to a point where we had to be comfortable with what we were going to do with each other, right? So for me, I was thinking, I got to the point where I was like, I don't need kids. My life is amazing. Yeah. Like, I love being married. I love being married to this woman. She is the best thing that's ever happened to me. I will do absolutely anything. And if it means what camera should I look at? I don't know. If it means doing those awkward things in a weird cubicle, then I'm going to do it, right? Yeah. Because that was something that we wanted to do as a couple, was grow our family. But the best thing for me was all I could do was show up every day and do what I could do every single day and support her every single day that I could in that journey. And I think that the hard part with that is you don't put your own feelings first. And it's a really, really, looking back at it now, years later, it's a really, really great way of learning how to be a parent, because your feelings can never come.
They just don't matter
first.
It's not that they don't matter. That's the wrong way to say it, but they don't come first.
They don't come first.
Nor should they. Yeah. Like, it's not the place for it.
Yeah. Like Tommy.
Why do we do this?
Yeah, exactly. And Tommy said it best. Like, if, and not to make this political, but there is like... Not political at all. I'm like, but there is no, but it was something that made me think about it, and I'm not trying to diminish at all and cut this if this comes across wrong. I do not want it to come across wrong, but there was this survey or whatever it was that came out saying that, like, if a woman was going to be trapped in the woods with a bear or be trapped in the woods with a strange man.
Yeah, I've heard this one.
They would rather be trapped in the woods with a bear. Yeah. And that's eye-opening, right? Yeah. Like, as a male, I look at that and I think, holy crap, like, how many times have I made women uncomfortable just by being in the room, or just by, like, all those little things, because I'm not the guy that's going to do something, but I also know me, and I know that, and my family knows that, and my friends know that. But, like, the stranger walking down the street when I'm going for a walk, when maybe the like street lights aren't on or whatever yet, like, the person walking up to me might not feel that way. So it's a really cool thing to hear, in the sense that, oh my God, I need to do better at making sure that I'm not, like, intimidating or scary or adding to that, because I have sisters, I have a mom, I have a wife, I have daughters, like, and that's not the only reason. Like, I think I've just live a life where I want to make the women around me, or people around me in general.
Well, and I think you want to be a
cut that.
I think you strive towards being a good man, and so, like, I've known you a very long time, and, like, you've always strived towards being a good man, like a kind person. We've had some ridiculous stories we're not going to tell on the show, but, like, none of them have led to disrespect. None of them are disrespectful. They're ridiculous. They're idiotic. Those are all fine things that we as men do, and we should do. And, like, we have it in us, and we have fun doing it. But, like, you've always been a very respectful, very well-mannered, very, like, and you've been with your wife for 20 3 years. Like, that's a long time. And like, she's a good woman. Like, I've met her a ton of times. And like, she's the best, she's a lovely lady. And so like,
and I think as
you've earned that, and like, you've tried hard to be a good man.
And every man should be, right? Like, there's so many pieces of shits out there that unfortunately make women feel uncomfortable, and then now we all have to be careful. That's all, like, I have a son and a daughter, but I know I have to have that talk with my son that once a girl says no, it means fucking no.
Yeah.
Like, I was raised, by old school people, but it was, the manners were there. Like, you let older people in, you open the door for women, like, just that respect and being just a nice, good human being, right? Yeah. But I think, with like, that is a conversation that I already started having a conversation with my son, and I'm going to continue to do that once it comes to girls, because it's just like, you got to be extra careful.
I have a daughter, and I hate it.
Yeah.
Like, I love it so much, but like, fuck.
It's like my coworker told me, he's like, I have 4 sons. I have to worry about 4 penises. At least you have to worry about all of them.
True. Like, but at least I have a daughter in today's age instead of like when I was 13.
Oh God, yeah. Like, absolutely. Well, you watched Anchorman, right? It's like, but that's how it was back then, right? Like, there was a lot of disrespect and all that.
And we all made it through it, and everybody's okay. I don't know about that, but like, we're all here.
But again, we try to, as men, we try to be better. Right?
So you guys
got to be protected.
So eventually you did get pregnant. You have kids, and so
congratulations. So was it the same way for you as us? Because once we actually stopped giving shit about trying, it actually happened.
Yep. It was
Is that what happened?
Yep.
And that's why I always say, like, that stress of like hearing other people. Oh yeah, we weren't even planning, and we just got pregnant. Like, fuck you, man. Like, here we are scared. Like, my wife was literally coming home for a booty call because I was working evenings.
Tell me more.
It was fantastic. No, but like, she was working during the day, and then she worked till 4:30. I started my shift at 3 till 11:30. So by the time I got home, she was asleep. So I mean, we called it the perfect relationship because like we didn't see each other during the week, so weekends were extra special.
Yep.
But like, it's like, okay, are you awake yet? Because I'm coming home. I'm like, okay, I'll be waiting. And it's like, okay, we got to do this now because then she has to go back because she's got a meeting. And then like the stress is like, fuck it. I told her, I was like, you know what? That's it. We're gonna stop trying. Let's just look into adoption. And like, as we started doing the process, it just happened.
Well, it's when you put so much more pressure on yourself because it's this is the time or the temperature or the for like whatever, like there's all these things where it's just like, this is your most opportune time, so like perform.
It has to happen right now, and this is how. And
and it's and like, there's probably a ton of people out there that are just like, boo hoo, guys, they came home for a quickie and it was whatever. But the hard part of it from the guy's perspective is you want to make everybody better around you, or at least like that's the general understanding that I get from your podcast, as we aren't going on this journey of like bettering ourselves or men's mental health or whatever it might be because for selfish reasons. We're doing it because like, I want to be a better dad. I want to be a better partner. I want to be a better friend. I want to be more available. I want to be on early in the morning. So like, do I still drink a cocktail from time to time? Yeah, absolutely. Do I do that nearly as frequently or at the same rate that I did like 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago before my kids were born? Absolutely not. Do I still want to? A lot of days, for sure. Because there is something nice about shutting your brain off in such a like gross way, like but like
I get it.
But I think everyone can relate to that, where it's just like, whether it's like, fuck, I can't stop the work swirls, or I can't stop this, or I can't stop that, or like life is just hard, like it just is, right? And to just be like, you know what you should do, go for a 20-minute walk instead of a 10-minute walk, it's terrible advice. Or if you're struggling with having a baby and like your friends or people that just are within earshot, they'll give you the advice where it's like, you know what? Once you quit trying, that's when it's going to work.
The last fucking thing you need to hear.
It's honestly, if there's,
and you probably heard it. Like, so I want to ask about that. Like, you So you're trying. You tried for years.
Yep.
And you watched your friends get married. You watched your friends have children, build families, while you're still trying to do this thing. And like that resentment, like there must be a stage where you have to face this resentment towards people you love and care about, just because like
you want them to be happy, but
like you must have hit that wall, I would assume, multiple times where you had to address it, and probably your wife too. And like,
100%. Yeah. And I think it's way harder. It's way harder.
Oh, it's for women?
For women.
Unbelievably. Yeah. Like I will never even claim to have a glimpse into what that's like.
Yeah.
And we're here to talk about what it's like for us. And like, I know that women have the harder time with that. There is no question.
Yeah. Well,
but like for you, what was that like?
Well, I think 7 years ago, before we had kids, if people were to ask, my natural reaction, the version of me now, if I were to go back 7 years, would just be like, oh no, I can't have kids. Like I would be like, I would shine the light on me,
take it on you,
so that
that's
it
your
would,
job.
Yeah, right. And so those were the things when I mentioned earlier, like I didn't really like mourn the process. Like I didn't realize what I was maybe not sacrificing. Like it all sounds so grandiose, but like going through that, my role was to be the rock, to be the salt, to like be like, it didn't happen this time, but maybe next time we have more options. We're just at the beginning of this. We can have kids, whatever, right? You know, like all of those things. But again, coming from the perspective of the guy who doesn't have a ticking clock. There we go. I got there. A ticking clock the same way. Isn't the one who's like was born with a and I'll ask my wife if we can share this, but like a unicornate I think that's the right way to pronounce it. A unicornate uterus, which is essentially half a uterus. Okay. So she could only be fertile 50% of the time. Yeah. Because that's just the way that it works. Yeah. So it's like, I think part of me was just like, knowing in my heart that I was never going to leave this relationship because we wouldn't ever have kids. Like my goal was, my relationship with my wife is the most important thing. And I want to have a family, but I don't want to have a family at the cost of anything else. So that's when we got to the point where finally I just put my foot down and I said, listen, like doing all this, like in vitro stuff and doing all of this fertility stuff, you're injecting hormones into your body, you're doing all of this stuff. Like I was just like, let's just take the summer off. Like let's just relax. Let's not worry about this. Let's go for runs. Let's be outside. Let's have margaritas. Let's just like
give your mind and body a break.
Yeah, like let's just be kids again. Like let's just like, you know, like have sex because it's fun, not because it's a science experiment in some ways. And I like I'm dumbing it down and making a bit of a joke about it because it's easier for me to digest it that way.
That's fine. We do that endlessly on the show, as you've heard.
Yeah, but yeah, we just got back to the like to us and us as a relationship and us as a couple and us as partners, and
then she got pregnant.
And then and everything else was like a big surprise. Like so through that summer, we ended up selling a condo. It didn't sell. The housing market was absolutely atrocious. We had bought a house. We had in that journey, we were like, well, we've been saving a house since we could buy a kid, so we have this down payment, but we aren't having a family. Maybe we should do something else. So we bought a cottage in that time, like nothing lavish, but like a getaway, right? And so I was like, man, we're building a beautiful dream life here. We aren't checking the specific box of kids or whatever, but we are doing all these other things. And like, I love my kids more than anything. And like you said, like I'd throw my wife in front of it if it means like, and because she would agree with me, it's like the handshake deal is like when you have kids, it's like if it's between them and you, like you sacrifice yourself,
is bigger
right?
than us. Yeah.
So yeah, it's like I would absolutely like I wouldn't like at this point. It's like how much I love my kids. Like I wouldn't only sacrifice me, but I would sacrifice my wife as well, right? Yeah. And I don't want that to come off as like whatever. However it comes off, it is what it is.
Don't worry about it.
But the person that I would lay down my life for, I would now lay her life down for these two little kids, right?
Yeah.
So what in your life, so she got pregnant, you had a baby, everything was happy, your kids are happy and healthy, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Talk about fatherhood for you. What did that change for you?
It was awesome. Like I have two girls, and I don't have any brothers. I only have older sisters. My wife only has a sister. So when we were pregnant, it was like, sure, there's a part of you as a guy that's like, oh, I wonder what it'd be like to have a son.
Yeah.
Like, what would I, like I'll dress them like me or whatever, like whatever fantasies you have. And then as soon as Finley was born and I had a girl, I was just like, oh my God, this is my new best friend. Like, it's like immediate, right?
Yeah.
It's just like everything changes, and you can't, it's impossible to articulate properly, but like you just realize that your purpose is different. And I think that was like, so that would have been 7 years ago, almost 7 years ago. And then me now, and somewhere around like 2 or 3 years ago, there was like this other monumental shift in my life where I was just like wanting to like really live for my family and really be present for my family. Because in that time, so it was like, so Finley was born in 2000, oh my God, cut this out, 2018, 2019.
I feel like your wife's going to listen to this, so just let them know and you'll edit it in.
Yeah, confirm and I'll cut it.
Well, she had her first birthday during COVID, and I'm trying to, so it would have been 2019 she was born first.
And then 2020 was
her first birthday.
See, we got it. We did it.
Yeah.
As a group, we got there.
Yeah, see, that's why you got to rely on friends, you guys. You got to have sounding
Takes a
board.
village or whatever people say.
Yeah, but yeah, so she was born, we had that first year. In that first year, she turned 1 in March of 2020, and that's when COVID was a real thing.
Yeah.
So we had our first birthday in isolation. But if I rewind a couple months before that, in January, my dad passed away. And my daughter was hospitalized and on like not an incubator, but she was on oxygen because she had an undiagnosed pneumonia. Oof. So this was March of 2020, right?
Yeah.
So
right when the shit hit the fan.
So likely the first versions of COVID.
Yep.
They weren't testing for that at the time. I dug into it to see if we could go back in the medical records to see, and they're like, we didn't test for it, so we don't know. But my estimation is that she may or may not have had COVID in January of 2020. But either way, she was hospitalized and she was on oxygen. My wife was spending time with her in the hospital, obviously. I was dealing with my family and my dad's passing, and like my daughter and my wife weren't able to come to my dad's memorial because they were in the hospital, right? And so my journey to fatherhood was a big long stretch of trauma. And then we got there, and it was and I don't believe that you go through trauma and then you get to something and you're like, yeah, we did it. Like now we're like, I the type of parent that I always thought I would be versus the type of parent that I am, I'm way more overcautious about everything. But because like it didn't come easy, and we went through these struggles, and I realized how like fragile all of this is. So we both, my wife and I, are both very careful with certain things, but yeah, it's like it makes it hard. And I'm sure every parent goes through it where they're like, don't do that, that's risky. But like risky play is important, so you want to let them hurt themselves a little bit, but just enough to like learn. So I think that I think that for the first few years we had the kid gloves on probably more than we would have
with your first kid, you have no idea what you're doing.
Yeah.
Just like with the second kid's like, it's fine.
Yeah.
But
yours are a prime example of that.
but no, I can totally relate.
Also, you had a boy second, so
yeah, my daughter was my firstborn, and same thing. Like I was just like, oh my God, I have this like little thing to protect now. Like my mindset changed. I remember driving home from the hospital after she was born, and like people are honking at me. I'm like, "Fuck you!"
Yeah, you're going like 20
Is that a
kilometers
real
an hour.
thing? Is that,
yeah.
like, I never
Dude,
went through
yeah,
that
I was, like,
portion
so
of,
careful,
of
like,
fatherhood.
You know,
yeah.
and, like I did my research, like how to place the car seat in the car. Like, don't put it in the middle because if you get T-boned, well, at least, you know, like things like that I would have never thought of. You know, but like.
Well,
did
and you
my
grew
research.
up in Slovakia, an old country,
exactly,
so like
you just lay
throw
across
in the back of the
back,
truck, you'll be fine.
But no, like with my son, it's like it was one, second kid, and two, he was a boy, so I play rough with him a little bit, you know. But like with my daughter, it was just I felt like she always like looked up to me like, Daddy's gonna protect me, right? Like,
Yeah.
And like right now, like she's turning 16, you know, and like we barely talk, man. It's just like it's. I talked with my wife about it. Like I have to find a way to connect with her. It's like not what I want to do; it's what she wants to do. And then me find some enjoyment in that because I know she likes that.
Totally.
I'll ask her to do things that I want to do. She'll roll her eyes and basically just says "fuck you."
Well, and with Jacob, you get that.
Yeah,
like he's into the things you're into, and like I have Autumn, and like Autumn has for part of who she is. You want to talk nature nurture, like she came into my life when she was 7, and like the amount of things about her that are me are shocking. Like all the time, every week I see something that's like just shocking to me, and like I've had a different experience coming to fatherhood than you too, and like it's funny. That's funny, like. Jacob and you have this immediate bond on things, but like you talked earlier about like listening to music. I think we've had this conversation before about like when I drive Autumn to school and like we listen to music, and like actually just this morning I was super tired. I slept like shit, and I was taking her to school and I didn't have any music on for the first like I don't even know if we got to the end of our street, and she's like, Father, are you putting music on? Yeah. And I was like, yeah, of course, because we always listen to different kinds of music in the car, and like she's a bit of a secret emo, don't tell her friends, because I listen to all that shit, and she loves it. But she's like, if I pull up at school and I'm listening to like Bring Me the Horizons album or whatever it is, Thrice, and she's like, can you turn it down a little bit, because she like loves it but doesn't want anyone to know about it. It's like I love that. It's just like we found our bond, and like again I do, and you have like to, you have she's a 13-year-old girl. What do I have in common with nothing, but you don't have to have anything in common with your kids. They're your kids. They're not your friends. They're your kids. And like one thing I can say, Tommy, is like maybe you haven't found that new connective point with your daughter, but like she's a great kid, and like she's absolutely she respects you, she loves you so much, and like you see that when you interact with you guys.
And I kind of like, exaggerate the whole, you know, but like also
she's hilarious, it's
not like we do.
But I get what you're saying. Like I have less. My daughter is less susceptible to like things that I want us to have fun doing than she used to be. Like she used to just do anything with me because she just wanted to hang out. And now it's like
exactly. Like before,
now I gotta come up with something good enough that she wants to do it, because otherwise it's like, nah, I'm okay. And then I got to do the thing where I'm like, no, fuck it, you're coming. And then she's like, all right, fine.
It's like that video. Have you guys seen that where the guy and a man and a wife sit in the car? Like the guy's like, okay, how do I figure out what she wants to eat? Guess where I'm taking you for dinner? To Moxie's? Yes.
You know it.
Yeah, so like that's kind of what I'm trying to do with my daughter now. It's like, hey, listen, like, you know, like I was thinking of going out and having some fun, and like, what do you want to do, you know? And then I always tell her, give me like a couple options, you know? Yeah. And then lately it's been just want to go to the mall shopping. I'm like, okay, don't spend all your money. But at the end of the day, like, you know, I told her, look, it's your money. You know what you need to save up for, because we've had a few rules in check. But, you know, at the end of the day, like, this is what you want to do. I'll drive you. Let me drive you. Yeah. I'll pick you up.
I'll be a part of it. Like, let me be a part. Yeah. And, like, my daughter doesn't ever try to exclude me. Yeah. Like, if anything, it's my issue trying to wanting to be included. It's like, oh, this isn't my place. Like, she's a 13-year-old girl. Right now she needs like a good example of men from her father, and she needs a tighter relationship with her mother to help her get through like her teenage years. And it's like, I'm a little bit envious, but also like not really. Like I don't want to be a part of that. Like, you're crying a lot. I don't actually necessarily want to, like, I'll give you a hug and tell you I love you, and like, you're always safe if you're around me, and that's my job.
Yeah.
But like, if you want to talk about boys, like, I only want to hear so much, so maybe better talk to your mom, because
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I just want to kill them all. So like, that's maybe not productive.
Well, and I think
and you're coming up, like, yours is about to turn 7.
Yeah.
You're not far from that stuff starting to happen, and like,
no,
it's exciting. It's so fun.
Yeah.
Like, it is such a fun
to see them turn from a kid into a teenage girl and then into a woman, you know, and like, 'cause like, there's still times when I see my 15, 16-year-old daughter play with my son as a 10-year-old.
Yeah.
Right? She goes down to his level, but then at one point she has enough, and then she's now this adult, or pretends to be an adult. But then we have then we have friends, or like, you come over, like, she'll actually sit down with us and we can have, like, we play over New Year's, we played Cards Against Humanity.
Yeah, I disagree with that, but we had a conversation about that.
But like, you know what, it's like,
I wouldn't let my daughter play it. Not yet.
Yeah, but you know what, but that's the thing, like, it's
I don't even know if I should play that game.
we're a ticket to ride family right now, so I don't have any. I don't have an opinion on this.
It's nice to see her that, like, she can have an adult conversation with adults.
Yeah,
you know? And like, I love that part. Love seeing that okay, you still can be a kid, but you can also be.
Well, and Autumn for me, like, she's an only child.
Yeah.
She grew up around adults. And so she is, like, the
She's
hardest
very
part for me
mature
is
for
actually
her.
I have to remember that she's still only her age.
Yeah.
Like, that's been the hardest. It's less now that she's 13, but like, when she was 8, 9, 10, like, she didn't seem 8, 9, 10. And so it just was like, oh, I got to remember your vocabulary, your ability to converse are beyond your years, but your emotional intelligence and your experience in life is not.
Yeah.
And I had a hard time learning that during those years for her, for sure.
I remember when I met her first, I was just blown away. I'm like, holy shit, like, yeah, you can have a conversation with her.
You can, but then you can't treat her like you think she's that age, because it's not fair to her.
Yeah,
like, it wasn't
tricky.
fair. And like, I had this set of expectations I would expect out of a 12-year-old. Not that I knew what that was like, but I've been 12, so like, I kind of get it. And it's like, this is what I think I should expect of you because of the way we interact. But like, oh no, I need to taper my expectations here because you're 9.
Yeah.
Or like, even now, it's like, she's 13. I think of myself at 13. I'm like, why the fuck does she use so many dishes and she didn't clean up after herself? Like, what the fuck did I do? Like,
who
the fuck am I that now this is all of a sudden some arbitrary expectation I'm allowed to have given on no grounds? Like,
No, honestly, you know what I love about having kids the most? Seeing them grow up, but also learning about yourself, that you're growing up with them.
She has taught
you're growing
me
as a person.
so much, and I've changed so much since she came into my life. Like, I am a different. There's a lot of things about me that are very different than were beforehand.
Yeah, I think that the hard part is, like, at the end of the day, you just want them to value family and value, like, themselves, and not do, like, you know, it's like, yeah, you hope they have good friends, but also like raise them strong enough that they can be that friend that is just like, that's a terrible idea, we're not doing that.
So my whole thing with, like, how I've approached it with Autumn is like, I can't make her decisions for her, and not really as much anymore. Like, the older she gets, the less I can, but like, I hope I did enough work and did the right job so that she knows how to make good decisions. Yeah. And she won't always make them. She'll choose to make the wrong ones. I still fucking do.
Yeah. I'm gonna do it like in 3 hours from now.
I'm gonna do it very shortly. But like, all I hope is I gave her the tools and the information to know what a good decision is to make, so she can keep herself. A, she's a girl and safe, and B, just like make good decisions for your life.
Yeah, I think that was a cool eye opener for me when we went to Ontario for the holidays. Was my wife's cousin, I'll say her name. This is a compliment, Stephanie, and her kids are like 20 and 18, or like around that age, right? A 20-year-old boy, 17, 18-year-old girl. And the amount of like connection and trust, and even when they make a mistake, like, they call their mom first. It's like, that to me is the biggest parenting success. Yeah. Because you're never gonna, like, not keep your kids from trying beer before they're
for sure.
whatever, like if they want to do it, they're going to do it. If they're going to dabble in like cannabis, or they're going to do like all of those things. So like so one of the big things that I try to think about all the time is like, when I'm working, I need to be super, super productive so that when I'm with my family, I can be super, super present. So that's like sort of
that's
where...
great. Yeah, I like that a lot.
Yeah, so like my through line for life now is where I was last December was like in a depression that I've never gone through before. I've never been like depressed. I've never felt anything like that. That came on from what I assumed at the time was anxiety, but what led to my anxiety was, and now I'm realizing, well, maybe I do have some like ADHD tendencies. So certain things that would lead to that, like task paralysis and that kind of thing. And then it's like hyper focus. So like, like Tim, you've known me long enough to know that like it's like when I get into something, it's like I get into something.
Yeah,
so it's
for
like
sure.
it's like, you want to sous vide some food? We're gonna sous vide some food. Like we're gonna learn about.
We're gonna fucking figure this out.
Yeah, it's like water is gonna do everything for everybody. It's like, but it's like I want to learn all about that so that I don't make mistakes. Right. So it's like this like. So what I've learned about myself in the last like year for sure, but probably longer than that, is like I had this like high expectation of perfection from myself. Like the expectation that I had of what I should be as a husband, as a father, as an employee, as a friend, as like just like just walking around, like what I give off in the world. I was at a point where I was just like failing at all of those things because I was like, I'm not giving everybody the best of me. And what I've really learned over like, again, especially the last year, it's been a lot of like, where the hell am I? Where was I? Where am I going? But looking back, 3 years, 5 years, longer than that, like I see a lot of these things that like I'm just like, oh yeah, like I'm a people pleaser, and that makes sense why I got into sales, because I want to make people happy, and I'm good in, I'm good in a room. I'm, conversational, like whether it's like, elderly folks or like kids. Now that I have kids, I'm great with like everything in between. So I can be that chameleon. Like I can kind of like jump into whatever it is. But what I realized is that I was holding myself to a certain standard and all of these things, which was way higher than anyone else around me needed. Yeah. And I was constantly failing myself. So I was constantly beating myself up and negative talk and being like, oh, I'm not the parent I want to be. I'm not the husband I want to be. I'm not the employee I want to be. I'm not the friend I want to be, or whatever, right? Like, and all of those things, they add up over time and time and time. And you just end up getting to a point. And I got to a point anyways, from my own perspective, like I was done. I had zero energy left because I had expended everything I had trying to be a version of myself that nobody expected of me or nobody wanted of me.
No one was asking for it.
Nobody was asking for it. And quite frankly, I'm sure nobody even wanted.
Yeah.
Like as Tommy's editing this podcast and muting my mic for most of it, like
he doesn't do that.
Yeah, like I talk a lot, and during all of this, like I realized that I process out loud. So now I need to figure out a better way to do that. I can't do it on a Zoom call. I've done it, and it's led to really, really unprofessional situations, or I'm an oversharer, and because I think that that's going to make me, like, in my head, I'm like, maybe that'll make me more endearing, but at the same time, like, people are more comfortable with me. And and again, things that I would never change about myself. I love being empathetic, but I also know that going through a weekend of really fun, heavy conversations with family, then it's going to take me a longer time to process all of that stuff, and I'm going to live all of those emotions. Yeah. So it's not an excuse, but what it is it helps me understand that at one point I got to here and it was like depression or whatever you want to call it. To me, I always feel weird calling it that. Like it's not that bad, so I don't deserve it. But I also think that that's probably one of my biggest problems is I minimize my own feelings so that I can make the people around me happier. Mm-hmm. So it's a balance because I don't want to. I put other people first because I want to create value in people's lives, and I want to have purpose, and that gives me purpose, like cooking for people. You know,
Makes you feel valuable.
Yeah, it's all the things.
It's this validation versus self-care versus validate. Like, I think it's a balance. It's always a balance.
Yeah.
And like I love the way we started this conversation when we were doing the check-in. Like, Tommy was feeling, fuck, in the last year I didn't accomplish the things I wanted to. And you very quickly like brought in this concept of like, hey, what did you accomplish? Because you didn't do nothing for a year.
Turn
like,
that conversation
there is
around,
a bunch of things that you did. And so I can tell that you're finding balance in that and finding ways to navigate through that in a positive way for probably you and the people around you.
Yeah.
And the people you're accountable to and the people that you aren't, and what people are or aren't expecting from you. You're expecting what you want from yourself, and you're kind of finding, it sounds like you're finding a bit of a way through it on both ends.
Yeah.
As a people pleaser, do you expect some of that, I guess, praise back a little bit? Because I had a conversation with a buddy of mine where he was just kind of feeling down, and I'd like to have him on to talk about this, but he kind of told me, he was like, well, you know, I've done this, I've done that for my family, like been doing all these great things, and I should be happy about it. But like, it feels like I'm missing a thank you, you know? And like, it was kind of bringing him down, and he felt even bad about that, right? So he was kind of hitting those low spots. Like, is that something that you've experienced too, where like, because you said you wanted to be this really good person, so did you feel like you failed because you didn't do it, or because maybe you didn't get some of that, thank you for doing this for us?
No, that's a great question. And I think if you would have asked me that like 18 months ago or a year ago, my answer might be different, but I would say I'm terrible at taking compliments. So even when people are giving me my flowers, I'm still just like, no big deal, don't worry about it. So that kind of ties it back into that, like, be grateful for what you have now, or be grateful for the progress. Like, don't, you know, because in my head, like here's an example. My father-in-law is going to Africa for a stretch of time to go do some like missionary work and some stuff that he's very passionate about and means a lot to him, and it's incredible. I was like, well, you know what, you leave. He left, I think, earlier today. I don't know what time his flight was, but I was like, let's have you guys over for dinner, like middle of the week, so we can have one last goodbye. He can see the grandkids before he goes. He's gone for a few months, that kind of thing. And in my head, immediately, I was like, well, what should I cook? Like, it should be special.
Yeah.
Like, it should be,
yeah.
you know. So the way that my brain works is just like, I'm just like, prime rib, lobsters, like like, you know, like you think real big first, and then you slowly scale it back, and then I just landed on, I'm like, you know what, like, it's really nice out. I haven't like barbecued for a while, so I made like smash burgers.
Nice.
Nothing's like, super
Simple,
super simple, super easy, fun. Something that I consider myself pretty good at. I can be confident in. I'm not gonna like have one of those moments where I'm like, I didn't cook the ribs long enough, and now I'm, you know, now I'm depressed about it, which literally happened like in the summertime. Like,
I've been depressed over ribs too. Don't worry.
Yeah, like
you probably have to.
I mean, we all should be.
Yeah.
If you don't know how to cook ribs. No, I'm just kidding.
No, but it's like, but it's crazy how, like, if I think about the big things that have happened to me in my life, like the infertility thing wasn't even on my radar when I was driving over here today, and that's a massive part of our life. But the way that I've kind of put it into like maybe like unhealthy, healthy, I don't know, like. Tell us in the comments, like and subscribe. I don't know how this works.
Yeah, we do need an intro.
Smash that like button if you guys believe it. No, but you know, it's like that was just life.
Yeah,
and so that's where I think now where I'm at. And it's way easier to do it for somebody else and give somebody else perspective, where I'm just like, 100%. I'm like, but what did you accomplish? Don't think about the things you didn't do. Think about what you did do. And I'll give you a perfect example. I did this yesterday and I did this today. I don't always do this, but I think I'm going to start doing this. So one of the things that I always do is I have an alarm in my phone that goes off at 8:30 in the morning every day to remind me to make sure that I, like, you know, took my vitamins, took my meds, like make sure everything's going on. It's just a quick reminder, right? And almost every single day for the last like year and a half since I've been on like any kind of anti-anxiety med or ADHD med or whatever it is, I get that alarm and I'm just like, I already did that, cross, like hit the X, right? Like, and it's just like, and I realized that I'm creating dopamine for myself because because I've already accomplished this thing, right?
Yeah.
So I just do all these little like hacks isn't the right word. I feel like that's overused and like maybe a little bit like diminishing of it, but it's like I just figured out what's gonna work for me to set me up for success. So I know that if I wake up before my family wakes up and I get a little bit of coffee in me and I have a little bit of quiet time, even if it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, I'm going to be so much better for my family. Yeah. So I wake up earlier. I just do now. Like, that's just the way it is. It's easy. It's not a big deal. It's not a sacrifice. It's not, quitting drinking for 3 months or, light therapy every single morning or ice bathing or this or that. Like, the world is telling us that we're supposed to do these, like, all of these insurmountable things.
They want us to live like Mark Wahlberg, and it's like, we can't do that.
Who can live like Mark Wahlberg? Friggin' millionaire movie stars, because they can afford to do that. But for like a regular person that has a regular Joe job and still wants to be a good parent, excel in their career, be more whatever, like grow in any area of goodness. Like, I don't think anyone's trying to like emphasize their like negative aspects of their life. You're like, what sucked for me last year? I'm going to lean into that.
I'm going to keep doing that.
So we didn't do this last episode, but we did the previous one. I want to bring in quotes, just talk about quotes that kind of resonate with us. And you just made me think of one. And I don't know how it goes exactly, but it's basically when you wake up in the morning, make your bed.
Yeah.
Because if you don't do anything else, you've accomplished one thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that like, as soon as you were talking about like all these little things that we do, or like the alarm clock, well, I already did that. So that accomplishment, and I don't do this. And I said this is actually one thing I said last year that I'm going to try doing. I haven't done it once, but I think I need to try doing that, because again, it's just a little simple thing as making your bed. It's a pillow and a cover, right? But if you don't do anything else, well, you've made your bed.
I've heard that one. Yeah. I like that one actually.
And I think lots of military people use that too as well. And
controversially, someone I listen to quite regular says that in one of his books, and it's like,
you don't want to say his name?
Well, it's Jordan Peterson.
Yeah,
okay. So Jordan Peterson says that. He says, make your bed.
Okay.
Just get up and make your bed.
Yeah.
And like, there's truth to that. And like, maybe it's not make your bed. Like, my wife makes the bed.
Whatever
and
it
so
is.
like, I love that she does that, but it's like, I get up and I do that thing.
Yeah.
It's like
the one thing that's,
I get up.
It's done. Yeah.
Yeah. And for me, it's like, get in the shower. Just get up and get in the shower.
Yeah.
Like, I do that before I have coffee. I do that before anything. I get up and I walk into the shower. And then when I get out, I'm totally different.
Yeah. And then on a weekend when you don't do that and you like are a little bit lazy.
I feel like shit.
Yeah.
I hate it.
Yeah. When you don't get into that routine, right? So like, I will echo that, like, make your bed, but your version of
making your bed.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And so for me, it's like, it's not necessarily making the bed, and I'm terrible at that, so I'm glad it's not that. But there's also a long time where I was the guy that got out of the bed early, so maybe I wasn't supposed to be the one that made the bed.
Make it when someone's in it.
Yeah, exactly. Which is maybe why I get out of bed early. I'm just like,
I don't want to do this.
That gives me task paralysis. Is your response, really?
I should actually ask my wife, how would you feel about if I started making the bed at 4 or 3:30 in the morning?
Yeah,
that's when I get out of work.
She's like, I'd like a nice tuck. That'd be great. Yeah. No, but it is like talking about quotes, like, there's so many things, like, and it does almost just turn into sound bites, and it feels a little bit cliche, and but for me, like, that works for me, right? Mm-hmm. So like, how do I create these little small wins? How do I do that kind of thing, right? So it's just little things, like, and again, like, it's not some mental hack or some like, I figured out the world. It's like, I just figured out how I work, and I don't take credit intrinsically for all of the little things that I do. And I'm not saying that I need a high five because I made my kids breakfast. Not at all.
Yeah.
But when I put it on a to-do list, like, my to-do list today was like, make everyone breakfast, get everyone dressed, get everyone out of the house, like all these really attainable things that I just do every single day. And then when the family all left and I was like, oh, I'm not driving kids today, this is great. And then I sat down and I poured myself another cup of coffee and I was just like crossing things out. Like I was just like, man, I like run a marathon now.
Yeah.
Like you can create this dopamine from doing really, really simple, easy things, or you can chase it with doing really, really, you know, it's like, you know, whatever it is, like whether you're like a cigarette smoker, a drinker or whatever, like all of those things are like instant gratification things. So it's like,
so is making your bed.
So it should be. It should be.
No, but that concept. It's like you do it by feeding your family. Like you do it in such a productive way for the rest of the world around you and your own life.
Yeah.
And like, I could get up and have a whiskey, and I'd probably feel a little bit better. Yeah. Like I could get in the shower with a beer, and by the time I'd be great. Yeah. But nobody else around me would get the benefits of that, and I wouldn't feel the rewards attached to that. And like,
you get the shame of like, oh, like
I drank a beer at 8:00 this morning. It's like on a weekend and camping, cool, but or at the airport, that's where it counts. But it doesn't count.
Yeah, but I think that's an important. Not a definition, but like an important thing to think about is why you're drinking or what you're getting out of it, right? And I know for me, it's like that, like I'm having a bad day. I want something to turn this around. It was always like, okay, work is over. Work sucks. Now it's on to my personal life, and my personal life is going to be like soaked in whiskey. Like, you know, like because it was like enough, because that's just how I conditioned myself, right? It was like, finish a shift at the restaurant, you sit down, you have beers with your friends. Go to band practice, there's beers there. You go you go play a game of spongy or beer league hockey, there's going to be beers after, there's going to be the celebration. Like you do the hard thing and then you get to do the fun thing. And I think that it's just really easy, and then COVID exasperated it. I never say that word right, so don't judge me, but COVID definitely like put that into a new gear when it was like, well, we can't, like there's nowhere to drive to, so let's open up that bottle of wine maybe a little earlier than usual, and then that gives us time for a second bottle of wine or whatever it is, right? Like when you're leaning into that instant gratification and the thing that's really simple and easy to do, those are the things that I think are really, really good to keep on a checklist of, I should pay attention to this, right? Yeah. Like, I don't think anyone's ever been like, dude, you eat so many vegetables for breakfast, you're such a loser, right? Like, you know, right? Like, it's like when it's a positive thing, the momentum is so hard to keep, and when it's a negative thing, the momentum is so easy to keep. Yeah, so so like going back to like quotes and like taglines, like that's a world that I live in because it gives me something to claw my teeth into, and momentum is a word that I think about a lot. So it's like if something isn't feeling right, how do I change the momentum? Yeah. And if something is going really great, what am I doing and how do I increase the momentum, right? So I think that and again, whatever it is, and yes, it's a subject of conversation because you guys just did this 3 months of sober journey.
I'm still doing
He's still going.
So yeah, I'm speaking directly to Tommy now. So Tommy committed to something and he's following through on something.
Please exclude Tim.
Yeah. No, but
that's fine. I'm cool with that.
Yeah. No, but I like, and I would never shit on you for that either, because what you did was awesome and big, and honestly, it encouraged me to be like, you know what, that's a good idea. I should get back into that. So like through November and through December and through January so far, like my alcohol consumption has been so much less than it ever would have been, because I knew other guys were doing it and other people are doing it. So it's like I should like
just gives you pause. It gives you a little bit of pause.
Kind of be aware of how much you're putting in your body.
Yeah, it's never a bad thing to just stop, slow down, look around, reflect, and say like, is what I'm doing working? Is it servicing me, or is it not? And for me with alcohol, it was like, it services me short term, but the long term effects, like, and even by short long term effects, like the anxiety that I would get after alcohol was enough for me to be like, I can't do this to myself or the people around me because I'm not good. Like I'm not good to be around. Like I want to be secluded. I want to be away from people. And it's just like, so that just wasn't the life that I wanted anymore. And when I was younger, I never thought of that. I never felt that. It's definitely changed in my adult years, or since turning 40 and having kids, and like life just changes, right? And I just needed to look back and look back currently, and like always, and in the future I'm gonna want to like be it's an ongoing thing, but like, am I the best version of myself when I've had a couple drinks at night? At night, do I think I'm the best version of myself? And it's like, well, it doesn't really matter, because traditionally I was just trying to put myself to sleep, but then I'd have terrible sleeps. Then I'd wake up and I'd be anxious, and I'd be
shitty cycle.
Yeah. So then those like really important hours where I really want to be impactful for my kids, and I really want to be like the best version of me. That's where all of my retrospect comes back to, like, I'm like, I never want to be that ever. Like going out for beers with a buddy on Friday night, sure, I did that. I went and had a couple beers, and it was totally fine, and it was meaningful, and we had good conversation, and it was like an event. Yep. But the way that my life was 6, 7, 8, 10 years ago, everything could have been that, right? Yeah. Like, so it's just figuring out, like, how do I make these things important? How do I make these things matter? How do I make sure my kids are getting the best example, right? Like when... Well,
and at different stages of your life, it will be different things that will bring you that joy, that boost, that oomph that you need for life. Right?
Well, and I think you're like, I'm set, like, your focus is in the right spot, and you're doing the right things for yourself. You're doing the right things for your family. Like, there's this level of selflessness that, like, a good father, a good husband, a good person embraces, and like, you are doing that. And so it makes me so proud. Like, we've known each other a very long time, and like, it makes me so proud to see the man you are today, and like, to have you sitting here willing to talk with us about this. I do really appreciate that. And so thanks, man. And like, I think I
feel like you could actually write a book, man. Like not because you laugh, you talk a lot, but
I do. Sorry, cut it down.
No. It's all good. I honestly really enjoyed listening to you. Like, I never met you before until today, and it sounds like you've had an interesting life. You went through ups and downs, and I just like your approach to life, the way you presented yourself today here to our audience and to me, and I'd love to have you on again more and just talk
come
about
back.
It. Feel free to obviously chime in anytime you want on any of our episodes, or just let him know, because I really appreciate what you said about our show, and that's the point of this show. It's
been one of our longest supporters.
Like that's. I mean, I really appreciate that, because it means a lot to me and Tim. As a little token, you get your own cup.
Yeah. That's the only reason I'm here.
Fucking waiting a year for.
I'm like, no, that's awesome. And like I said, and I said this off air, but I really love what you guys are doing. Like, I think at the end of the day, as I was driving over here, I was thinking in my head, I'm just like, are you prepared to go be vulnerable on camera and on microphones? And that's not an easy thing to do, right? No, yeah. Like, and you guys do it weekly or like very frequently, and you guys have cool guests on, and I think that you guys are doing a great job. And I said it before, I love the new format. I love the couches. This is so comfortable.
It's like so much better.
Like the fact that there's microphones and cameras on, like that left so fast. I was like, to like all the viewers, like I was a little bit nervous. It's been a long time since I've done anything with a microphone or a camera in my face, quite some time. And you guys are doing something really, like, you're doing something, and I think that you should put that in your what did I accomplish in 2024 list. Like, you're making an impact, and if you guys just keep going, it's only going to keep getting out there to more and more people. And like I said, like, you guys have made an impact on me, and I know you, so like, you've impacted one human being. So
to me, that means so much.
To me, I think that's a huge win.
It is. So every time we get a message from anybody that, hey, that was a great episode, like, I'm like, okay, it's worth doing it.
Right. So. Thank you so much for being here, Graeme. I really appreciate it, man. Like, I love you, and we've known each other so long, and I'm so fucking grateful that you're here and that you're still my friend after so many years. And like, I just wish all the best, and please come back.
Oh man,
Yeah, it was really nice to meet you, and I can't wait for you to take me out for like one of those fancy dinners with drinks and everything that you talked about.
Yeah. Well, but when there's not $100 bill on the line, next time I come back, maybe I'll bring something fancy for us all to taste or something like that.
Thanks, buddy.
Cheers.
See you guys.
Appreciate you guys.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of The Quiet Riot Show. We want to give a big shout out to our sponsors for making this show possible. And of course, thank you, our amazing listeners, for your support. Be sure to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. We're at Quiet Riot Show on all platforms. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, where you can watch full episodes of the podcast. If you're enjoying the show, please rate and review us wherever you're listening. It really helps us grow and reach more listeners like you. We'd also love to hear from you. Have questions, suggestions, or thoughts about the show? Drop us an email at quietriotshow@gmail.com. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time on The Quiet Riot Show.